Alright, so here's my TOTS RZH1, and I've done a few modifications to the paint job since the last time I posted the tutorial for this. I went back over it with another grayish wash because it's a little too bright white, so I've done that. And another major thing I did was the eye cuts. If you look back at the old videos that I did, the eyes are a little more rounded, closer to like they were in the stock mask. So I've used reference, and they were a little more angular, especially here closer to the nose. Here I have trimmed up the neck a little more. Originally it was a lot more rigid and a lot more jagged, but I've gone back in and straightened some of that up a little bit so it's not as jagged, because I changed my mind on that. At first I thought it looked good, but then the more I looked at it, the more I wasn't really feeling it. Then I've also gone in and added a lot more of these gray marks like the screen mask has. The screen use mask, I've tried to go in and do that kind of marbling effect, and I think it turned out pretty good for a first try. I'll probably refine it a bit more if I do another one of these, but for right now I think it's fine. Now, I usually have people asking me about the rock color and the base tones and all that. Now, originally in my tutorial I did a brown base tone, and then I went over it and did the white on top of it so that the brown would show through a little in some areas. For the rock colors, I've done a mix of a yellow and orange with a little bit of burnt umber to create sort of this yellow orange tone. Now, some people use just yellow or a yellow green, and I think the screen used mask has more of a yellowish tone from some of the photos I've seen. But me personally, I wanted a warmer tone to my mask. Some people do more gray and yellow. I've seen some do more white and orange like this, and that is the color scheme that I like for this mask. And if you look at behind the scenes photos and stuff and just screen caps and all that, the RZ masks, especially from H1, depending on the lighting of the scene and all that, it can drastically change how the mask looks. Like I said, sometimes it looks grayish with some yellow rot. Other times it looks, I would say, a little more like this with a more white tone with some orange to it. Really, if you're going to rehaul this mask, I would say if you're going for screen accuracy, really use your reference photos. Stick to a certain scene that you like or are trying to go off of. Me, I wasn't too worried about screen accuracy, so I kind of just mixed and matched and did what I thought looked best. You can do whatever you want. The main thing I'm sure you've noticed is I have removed the stock hair. Originally, I didn't think I was going to, because the stock hair was actually not too bad on my copy, and I was able to style it pretty well. But the more I looked at it and the more I had it displayed, I thought that the stock hair was definitely holding this mask back, because I think the paint job I did was pretty solid for my first attempt. I do want to rehair this at some point. I'm probably going to go for a brownish gray like you see on most RZ masks. And the reason I want to rehair this is because I definitely want the hair to be longer and fuller. I couldn't really achieve that with the stock hair, so I don't know when, but eventually I am going to completely rehair this. That's about all the updates I have for the TOTS RZH1 that I've done. If you have any more questions, you can leave them in the comments section and I will try to get back to you. Here we have my H2 half mask, or torn mask, whatever you want to call it. Now, what I've done with this since the last time I've posted it is, I don't know if you can really see it too well in this lighting, but I have gone in around the blood area and I've added a little bit of yellow to some of these areas. I had a good photo to go off of, a good reference of the screen use mask, and there seemed to be some additional yellow in here that I've added. And I've also darkened up the blood a little bit to give it a more aged look, and I've added some additional blood marks that I saw on the screen use mask that I didn't have on here originally. Like, there's some blood here and around the lip that I added, and some around here around the nose. And a major thing I did was go over this with a light brown wash after I already had the blood on there and everything, just to kind of tie it all together a bit more. And then I did go in and use a dark brown wash, some very diluted dark brown paint, and kind of go into some areas like around the eyes and around some of the cracks, and especially along the edge of this torn part, as well as taking that same wash and going in and bringing out some of the cracks of the mask a little more, and going into some areas like around the edges of the cracks, just so they blend in a little better. Now, I did start rehairing this mask not too long ago. I removed it because I'm going to actually add a darker color. I wasn't feeling the lighter brown that I had on here. And not to mention the fact that my original rehair of this really only went to about like right here, and I didn't bother doing the whole thing at first because when I would do costume videos of this, I would always have the hood up, or if I had the hood off, you only ever saw me facing forward or to the side, just enough to where you couldn't see the rest of the stock hair that I had on this. And my original rehair of this was really sloppy. Like, I didn't really have a good idea of how to do it. I'm not great at rehairing. I'm still trying to learn and get better at that, so I definitely want to retry from scratch with more hair to see if I can get a better look. One thing I really want to mention is the fact that this is actually not the official Tots ribbed mask or hobo mask. This was actually the dream sequence mask, and I cut out this part of the face for display purposes. If you guys have seen that one video I did where I made that floorboard display for my RZH1, I did make a display. It was fully intact. I did that video where it was supposed to be like a field or a pasture, and I had the Bowie knife next to it. I ended up not liking that, so I have a new idea. I'm not going to reveal what that is yet. I will when I have more of it completed, because it's more in the concept stage right now, so it's a matter of buying what I need to make it, and then later on I'll do a video on it. But yeah, the main thing was I wanted to cut this out so I could have that torn piece on display with this mask. Obviously, if I would have bought the torn mask already from Tots, I wouldn't have had this piece to display with it. So I'm currently painting and working on this piece that I cut out, and maybe I'll show that later on. So this area right here might not be completely accurate. I tried to do the best I could, but yeah. So those are the updates on the hobo mask, the RZH2 hobo mask. If you guys have any questions on this one, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll try my best to answer them with as much detail as possible. And that's going to be all from me, you guys, for this video. Again, if you have any questions on either this mask or the H1, you can let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.